Could the most important moment of attraction happen without a single word being spoken? That question stays with many men for years, especially those who reach a stage in life where experience has taught them to be careful, respectful, and realistic. Somewhere along the way, confidence becomes quieter. Hope becomes more guarded. Every glance starts to feel easy to dismiss. Every smile becomes something that must mean nothing. Slowly, almost without noticing, many older men begin to believe that interest only exists when it is obvious. The truth is often far more subtle. This message is for the man who has walked away from conversations wondering whether he misunderstood something. It is for the man who noticed someone looking in his direction, but convinced himself it was only coincidence. It is for the man who believes his best years of connection are behind him, simply because time has changed the way he sees himself. The strange part is that life rarely announces its greatest opportunities with loud voices. It whispers, it waits, it leaves small signs for those who are calm enough to notice them. Attraction almost never begins with words. Long before two people speak, something quieter begins to unfold. A glance lasts a fraction longer than expected. Eyes meet, separate, then meet again. A smile appears for only a second before disappearing. These moments are so brief that they often vanish before the conscious mind even recognizes them. Many older men never notice these moments. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack value. They miss them because years of disappointment, responsibility, rejection, and caution slowly train the mind to look away before possibility has the chance to become reality. That is where everything begins to change. The greatest barriers in life are rarely outside us. They are the silent stories repeated inside our own minds. Stories that whisper, "She could not possibly be interested." Stories that say, "Do not embarrass yourself." Stories that convince a good man that ignoring every possible signal is somehow safer than simply remaining open and aware. But before I tell you that, stay with me, because what comes next will completely change how you see this. There is one simple shift in awareness that separates the men who constantly overlook genuine moments of connection from those who quietly recognize them without forcing anything, chasing anyone, or pretending to be someone they are not. That shift has almost nothing to do with appearance. It has almost nothing to do with age, and it has everything to do with perception. Most people spend years trying to become more attractive while never learning how attraction quietly reveals itself. They search for perfect words, perfect clothing, perfect confidence, while missing the language that exists before language itself. Most people will never hear this, not because it is hidden, but because they stop too soon. The world rewards those who notice what everyone else ignores. There is another reason this subject matters so deeply. Many people assume attraction is loud, direct, and unmistakable. Real life rarely works that way. Human beings protect themselves. They test safety before vulnerability. They observe before they approach. They communicate through countless small behaviors that seem meaningless until they are understood together. One glance means very little. A pattern of quiet attention can mean something entirely different. The problem begins when fear interrupts observation. Fear rushes to explain everything away. Fear creates certainty where patience would reveal truth. Fear convinces a man that every positive possibility is only imagination. Yet wisdom asks a different question. Not, is she definitely interested? But rather, am I present enough to notice what is actually happening without inventing a story? That question changes everything, because this journey is not really about decoding another person. It is about removing the filters that stop you from seeing clearly. Many men spend decades becoming successful, dependable, disciplined, and respected. Yet somewhere beneath all those achievements lives the younger version of themselves who once feared rejection. Age does not always erase that voice. Sometimes it only teaches that voice to speak more quietly. The remarkable thing is that calm awareness often creates opportunities that anxious certainty destroys. Over the next few moments, you will discover why certain eye contact patterns are so often misunderstood, why subtle interest is frequently mistaken for ordinary politeness, and why one overlooked habit quietly closes more doors than most people realize. More importantly, you will learn how to recognize these moments with maturity, humility, and respect, without assuming that every glance carries romantic meaning. This is not about chasing anyone. It is not about reading minds. It is not about forcing connections where none exist. It is about becoming the kind of man who pays attention without expectation, notices without obsession, and responds with quiet confidence instead of fear. Because awareness changes more than relationships. It changes the way you move through life. It changes the way you carry yourself. It changes the energy people feel before a single word is spoken. Some lessons arrive loudly. The most valuable ones almost always arrive in silence. If these conversations speak to something deeper inside you, if you enjoy exploring psychology, personal growth, emotional wisdom, and the quiet truths that shape meaningful human connection, then welcome to the channel. Consider subscribing and joining this growing community, because each conversation is designed to help you see yourself and the people around you with greater clarity, confidence, and understanding. The next insight may reveal something that has been standing right in front of you all along. There is one silent habit that causes countless men to miss meaningful opportunities, and most of them never realize they are doing it. Many older men walk through life believing they are simply being realistic. They tell themselves they are respecting boundaries. They convince themselves that ignoring even the smallest possibility is the safest choice. At first, that sounds wise, but over time, caution can quietly become a prison. The mind stops asking, could this person be interested in getting to know me? And begins answering the question before it is even asked. The belief often sounds familiar. She is only being polite. She could never be interested. I am probably reading too much into this. These thoughts feel protective because they promise to prevent embarrassment, yet they also prevent curiosity, genuine conversation, and opportunities to discover the truth through respectful interaction rather than assumptions. The strange thing about confidence is that it is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the willingness to remain open without pretending to know the answer. That single difference changes the way people experience every social interaction. Do not skip this part, because this is where most people make the biggest mistake. Many of these beliefs are not created overnight. They are built from years of experience, a rejection remembered from decades ago, a misunderstanding that still feels uncomfortable, a relationship that ended painfully. The mind begins collecting evidence that supports one story while quietly ignoring everything that does not fit it. Psychologists sometimes refer to this tendency as a confirmation bias. Once we expect a certain outcome, our attention naturally searches for information that supports that expectation. If someone believes nobody could possibly be interested in them, they may unintentionally overlook friendly behavior, warmth, or opportunities to start a simple conversation. That does not mean attraction exists. It means expectations influence what we notice. Here is a surprising fact. Research on nonverbal communication suggests that people often make impressions within seconds of seeing one another, long before meaningful conversation begins. Those first impressions are shaped by many things working together, including posture, facial expression, eye contact, context, and emotional presence. No single signal tells the whole story. Human connection is always more complex than one glance. Here is the truth nobody says out loud. The greatest obstacle is often not rejection. It is rejecting every possibility before life even has the chance to answer. That is why some men unknowingly create a self-fulfilling cycle. They expect disinterest. Because they expect it, they avoid engaging. Since they never engage, they never discover whether a genuine connection could have existed. The belief feels confirmed, even though it was never truly tested. If this sounds familiar, there is no reason for shame. Many thoughtful people become cautious after difficult experiences. The goal is not to become reckless. The goal is to become aware. There is another layer that makes this subject even more interesting. Human beings often communicate comfort or curiosity in subtle ways before they choose to speak. Eye contact is one part of that larger picture. It is not proof of romantic interest. It is simply one form of nonverbal communication that can invite or discourage interaction depending on the situation. People, especially in unfamiliar social settings, often communicate indirectly because direct approaches can feel vulnerable. A brief glance across a room may simply mean someone noticed another person. It might reflect curiosity, familiarity, or nothing more than shared attention. Context is always essential. That is why respectful conversation, rather than assumption, is the only reliable way to understand another person's intentions. Still, repeated moments of eye contact can naturally encourage two people to become aware of one another. When two individuals repeatedly notice each other, it sometimes creates an opportunity for a friendly greeting or conversation. The important word is opportunity, not certainty. Do not skip this part, because understanding this difference can save you from both unnecessary disappointment and unnecessary assumptions. Many people confuse seeing with observing. Seeing happens automatically. Observing requires calm attention. Someone may briefly look toward you because movement caught their attention. Another person may glance back several times because they recognize you from somewhere. A smile may simply reflect kindness. Yet sometimes these small moments become the beginning of a conversation because both people are comfortable enough to acknowledge each other's presence. That is why the healthiest approach is neither blind optimism nor automatic dismissal. It is patient awareness. One behavior that people frequently misunderstand is the repeated glance. If two people naturally make eye contact several times in the same environment, it may simply indicate growing awareness of one another. It does not reveal motivation by itself. It simply means both people have noticed each other more than once. Another commonly discussed behavior is looking away and then looking back. This can happen for many reasons. Someone may briefly look away because direct eye contact can feel intense or because something else drew their attention. Returning eye contact later may simply reflect renewed awareness. Without conversation and context, no reliable conclusion should be drawn. Holding eye contact slightly longer than expected is another subtle form of communication. Longer eye contact can sometimes express confidence, attentiveness, warmth, or interest in the interaction. It can also occur in professional, friendly, or entirely ordinary situations. The meaning depends on everything surrounding the moment, not the moment alone. Then there is the quiet smile that follows. A genuine smile often creates comfort because it signals openness rather than certainty. Friendly people smile, confident people smile, interested people smile. The smile itself does not reveal which one it is. Instead, it invites respectful interaction. Some people also notice another person looking in their direction when they are not expecting it. Again, this has many possible explanations. People naturally observe those around them. Sometimes it leads nowhere. Sometimes it becomes the beginning of an enjoyable conversation. The healthiest response is neither fantasy nor fear. It is simple curiosity balanced with respect. The remarkable thing is that none of these behaviors matter nearly as much as the energy you bring into the interaction. Confidence is surprisingly quiet. It rarely announces itself. It does not compete for attention. It does not chase approval. It simply allows a person to be fully present. That kind of presence is difficult to describe, yet most people recognize it immediately. Calm individuals tend to listen more than they speak. They maintain comfortable eye contact without staring. They smile naturally instead of forcing expressions. They do not appear desperate for validation because their sense of worth does not depend on another person's response. Emotional stability often leaves a stronger impression than appearance alone. People generally enjoy being around those who make them feel comfortable, respected, and safe. A relaxed presence communicates far more than rehearsed lines ever could. Perhaps that is the lesson many men spend years searching for. The goal is not to become someone who convinces everyone to like him. The goal is to become someone who remains authentic regardless of the outcome. That shift changes everything. Because the greatest mistakes usually begin inside the mind. Overanalyzing every interaction steals the joy from genuine connection. Seeking constant reassurance places impossible pressure on every conversation. Moving too quickly can make another person uncomfortable before trust has time to grow. Assuming rejection before speaking prevents opportunities from ever existing. Living inside fear slowly teaches the mind to expect loneliness, even when meaningful conversations are possible. The healthier path is beautifully simple. Observe without assuming. Speak without forcing. Listen without performing. Respect the other person's comfort as much as your own. Allow reality to reveal itself naturally. This is where eye contact teaches something much deeper than attraction. It reminds us that openness is different from certainty. We do not need to know the ending before saying hello. We only need enough courage to remain respectful, present, and emotionally grounded. The strongest form of confidence is not believing everyone will welcome you. It is knowing your value does not disappear if someone does not. When self-respect becomes your foundation, conversations become lighter. You stop chasing outcomes. You stop trying to prove yourself. You become curious instead of anxious. That quiet confidence is something people often feel long before they can explain it. And that is how opportunity begins to look different. Not because the world suddenly changes, because your awareness changes. You begin noticing moments without attaching stories to them. You trust observation more than imagination. You respond with kindness instead of fear. You allow genuine connections to unfold at their own pace, knowing that mutual interest is discovered through conversation and respect, never through assumptions alone. And what I am about to share next, almost nobody talks about. Yet it may completely change the way you understand attraction, confidence, and human connection for the rest of your life. As this journey comes to an end, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The greatest change was never about learning to decode another person's eyes. It was about learning to see yourself more clearly. Somewhere along the way, many men stopped trusting their own presence. They allowed old disappointments, quiet fears, and invisible doubts to become the voice that spoke louder than possibility. But awareness changes that. The moment you stop assuming the worst, you create space for something better to unfold. The real lesson was never that every glance carries a hidden meaning. The real lesson is that life is filled with moments that deserve your full attention instead of your automatic fear. Meaningful relationships do not begin with certainty. They begin with respect, patience, and the courage to remain open without expecting a particular outcome. That is where genuine confidence is born. The strongest man in any room is rarely the loudest. He is the one who knows his worth without demanding that others prove it. He carries himself with quiet confidence. He listens before speaking. He observes before judging. He respects boundaries while remaining open to connection. That kind of presence cannot be copied because it grows from within. Everything you just heard, you already knew. Deep inside, you just needed someone to remind you. Perhaps that is why this conversation matters far beyond attraction. It is really about the way you choose to move through life. Every day offers small opportunities, a conversation, a smile, a moment of kindness, a chance to connect with another human being. Some of those moments will lead nowhere, and that is perfectly fine. Others may quietly become memories that change your life forever. The difference is often not found in the world around you. It is found in the person you choose to become. So from this moment forward, walk a little slower, notice a little more. Let curiosity replace fear. Let self-respect replace self-doubt. Allow people to show you who they are instead of deciding the story before it begins. You will not always receive the answer you hope for, but you will always gain something far more valuable. You will know that you showed up as your true self. Before you go, hear this one last thought carefully. This may be the most important message in this entire conversation. The opportunities that change your life are not always the loudest ones. They are often the quiet moments you almost ignored because you believed you were not enough. Do not let that belief write the next chapter of your life. If this message gave you a new perspective or reminded you of something your heart had quietly forgotten, I would be honored if you gave this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps this community continue growing, and it allows us to keep exploring the deeper lessons about confidence, human connection, and living with purpose. Until we meet again, take care of yourself, stay grounded, stay kind, and never underestimate the quiet power of becoming the person you were always capable of being.